Okay, so it's just gone 7 o'clock. We'll commence the Town Council meeting of the 3rd of March. Good evening, councillors. We're a bit light on the ground tonight, but I hear some people will be a little bit late. Good evening, residents. Nice to see you all there.
More better than you.
So we'll start off with apologies for absence.
Councillor Clapham, lateness Councillor Page, Rainbow and Rencontre, and I believe Unitary Councillor Delgado.
An apology. Declarations of interest. We receive declarations of interest from members. Please, have we got any personal pecuniary interests that may affect any items on the agenda?
The cemetery, Mr. Chair, I can't find the number.
I think it's on there, David.
Oh, I didn't see it on the okay. I saw sorry, apologies.
Councillor Frost?
Item 12G, St Peter's Church and Church Walton.
Okay.
Well, it is being late, Mr. Chairman.
That's okay, you're not the last to turn up tonight, I'm sure. Okay, so in response to Councillor West's request, we will bring agenda item 4 forward to the next agenda item, which now becomes 3. And this is a presentation from the chairman of the Arlesey Good Neighbourhood Support Scheme, Evelyn Curtis.
That's right.
Hello Evelyn, welcome.
Thank you very much. On my previous visit, I explained to the councillors present that the scheme had been set up by the Beds Royal Communities Charity and that we're the 34th Good Neighbour group in Bedfordshire. I myself am a resident. I've been here 15 years, during which I ran the project for learning disabled adults in St John's Road for 7 years. So with the background of my voluntary experience, I feel fully able to head the group of such well-meaning individuals who have now come forward to join this support scheme. Our aim is to operate as a helping hand in as many practical tasks as possible. We're now in the 2nd week of our phone rota. We have a phone that is manned by a volunteer Monday to Friday 10 till 2, and people can ring in with their requests, and when the phone is not manned, there is an answer phone system. We're asking to help people with practical help, giving lift to surgeries, helping them with their shopping, minor household tasks, putting up light bulbs, all the different things that a lot of people can't do. But we want you to understand that we're not taking away the livelihood of any of the tradespeople in the village, because I mentioned to somebody that we might walk a dog for an elderly lady who'd fallen down. So we won't be taking away the business from the various dog walkers, etc. We're going to act as a sort of an emergency helping hand. And neither will we be acting as advice givers or counsellors, but what we will act as a referrer onto the village agent or agencies such as Bedfordshire Age UK that does help people, or we'll pass them on to people like the Citizens Advice Bureau. We're not qualified to give advice, and we would hate to give the wrong advice. We've produced small amounts of publicity. I'd like to leave these for you. They should be appearing all over the village and in shops, in hostesses, etc. But obviously it's just a small start to our publicity. We need to produce around 5,000 leaflets in order to flood the village with these. We need to produce things like badges so that people can be identified. All of our volunteers are what they used to call CRB checked. All of our volunteers are checked, and they're all people that we would guarantee that the callers that they will be able to do the jobs. We're aiming to fundraise ourselves. We've booked 2 stalls in the next month, one at the Methodist Church and one in Stopfold. So we are going to try and fund ourselves. We originally got £300 from Beds RCC, but that's been virtually spent. We're going to have to spend about £180 on public liability insurance. We bought a phone, and the costs of manning the phone are more expensive than we thought because we will be ringing people back. We don't want pensioners or young mums hanging on the phone, on a mobile phone, so we will be, utilising that system. Your help is urgently needed. We've asked you to help us by funding us with £500, but we respectfully ask if this sum could be increased in future to meet our further needs, we would ask you to consider it. I do have a colleague here who's going to have a quick word with you about what our wider aims are. John, would you like to have a word?
Yeah, my name's John Boys. I also live in the village. I've lived here for 15 years. I'm a director of a company in the village, but I'm also a director of a company which is a fundraising company. And we specialise in raising funds, and that's really where Ev and I met. So I said I could probably give her a lot of help with how we could come up with ideas to raise funds in the future so that we didn't need to be reliant too much on your good selves. However, at the moment, because we've got a lot of start-up costs, anything that you could help us with, we would massively appreciate. The other thing is, what we want to do is we want to act as a sort of catalyst to actually work with a lot of the other agencies in the village. And I know there are a lot of agencies in the village, so that we can make sure that we don't duplicate things, make sure that we do benefit from the experience that they've already got. When we finish this meeting, we're going on to another meeting, and we're actually going to be talking to an existing Good Neighbourhood scheme, to their chairman, to actually learn the best practice that they've managed to develop while they've been going. So really what we want to say to you is that we're a group of ordinary people in the village that just simply want to offer a helping hand to the vulnerable people in society, and as you know, there's a lot of those. I work as a coach myself, working with people that are vulnerable and people that need a lot of care, and the one thing that I find is that the people that need the care the most are quite often the people that are the least likely to ask for it. So what we're going to do is be working with all the other groups that are already working in the village, using people like you good selves and other people to give us references of these people that might need our help. So anything that you can do for us, we'd be very, very appreciative. Thank you.
We have made links already with Aragon Housing, with the Methodist Church, with St Paul's, with the Guides, various other, the Residents Association, etc. And we just hope that these links will enable us to pass people to the right route in the village.
Thank you very much for that, and it's really great to see people involved in that way, giving their services for free. As you're probably aware, on the agenda under agenda item 12F.2, we are discussing the financial assistance application of the Arlesey Good Neighbour Support Scheme. So obviously we'll do that at that time, but if councillors have got any questions they'd like to ask the two presenters at this moment in time to add any further clarification before we get to agenda item 12. Councillor West.
Mr Chair, if either of you would like to contact me on my phone number is out there, I can give you information about other people who've got grants available.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Holloway.
Do you have a feel for the sort of budget that you need ongoing?
Well,
unfair question, I guess.
I think that looking at what we've had to spend already, I don't know how long, I would like to think that the £500 will last us at least 6 months, and the rest will depend on whatever we fundraise. I don't want to be in the situation where I can't pay a phone bill or I can't produce leaflets, and that's the only thing I'm very, very nervous of. I think it's not going to be ultra expensive, but as I say, I'm very wary of committing myself to pluck out a figure and say to you, oh God, it's going to cost me £2,000 a year, because...
Well, you're only 2 weeks into it, but it's just even just ordered that it's 1,000 rather than 10,000.
Yeah, you know, but I think if we, you know, I'm looking at the fact that it might cost £750 for us to run for, hopefully for a year.
Okay.
In my mind, looking at the cost of the reprints, simple cost of the phone, if people are given lifts, etc., or if they're given small amounts of shopping and they wish to pay a small amount, there will be a tiny scale for petrol, and if they want to pay that to the driver, they can, but we won't necessarily ask. Some of the drivers, most of the drivers have said they probably won't accept it, so that money will go into the fund. But at the moment, only in week 2, it's very difficult for me to split the budget.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillors might like to know, they might already know that the financial assistance was for £500 for year 1, and I think it was ongoing, wasn't it?
Yes, we were hoping to get an annual sum,
That's
but
right.
I was advised that that's not necessarily possible, and it was suggested that I came back in October.
Councillors, also you could bear in mind that we do have to discuss the decision that we make on the village agent. We haven't made a decision yet as to where we go with that this financial year. We have set aside quite a substantial budget for that role. We could bear that in mind in relation to this, because this is a similar sort of service that's being offered. Okay. So we'll move on to agenda item 3, which becomes agenda item 4, which is the Chairman's announcements. 4A, CBC press release, elections of parent government representatives for the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. You've got a copy of that in your trays. You've got a copy of all of the first page, actually, from A to H. B, the CBC press release, work starts on the 2nd phase of the Leighton Buzzard Flood Defence Project. 4C is the CBC press release on discover the benefits of volunteering. 4D is the CBC press release working together to create a safer internet. We will touch on that later. 4E is a CBC press release, Central Supervast Programme hits 10,000 properties milestone. Councillor Wenham might like to comment on that when he gets to his spot. 4F is CBC press release, council spending plans approved by executive. 4G is the CBC press release, Central Bedfordshire volunteer wins a prestigious national award. 4H is another press release, Oh Boy, West End Stars Rally to help Alzheimer's Society. And then turning over the page, 4I, the Central Bedfordshire Highways Annual Report 13-14, which again is in your trays. 4J is a consultation for the new landscape character assessment for Central Bedfordshire. Again in your trays. The first item that isn't in your trays is 4K. This is a meeting with Alistair Burt, MP. Saturday the 21st of March. He has written into the council to state that he is inviting representatives from the council to attend a meeting for discussion of local concerns of mutual interest as we have done in past years. The meeting will be for the chairman, clerks and members of the parish and town councils, and I do hope that as many of you as possible will be able to attend. It's at, as I said, on the 21st of March, it's a Saturday, 10:30 to 12 o'clock, and it is being held in Great Barford Village Hall, which is at Fisher's Close near Bedford. Now, if you're interested in going along to this meeting with Alistair Burt, if you let Leslie know in the office, because ideally they would like the name of one councillor to represent Arlesey. rather than, you know, all of us turning up that morning. And then Leslie will forward the information to Alistair Burt's office. So it's on the 21st of March, it's for an hour and a half in the morning, and it's at Great Barford Village Hall, just outside Bedford. I'd like to make a note of that. And as I said, contact Leslie if you can attend. 4L is a CBC press release. Again, you've got a copy of that. Dispelling myths around fostering. And then 4M is the Arlesey annual town meeting of the 9th of March. Starts at 7 o'clock in the village hall. All councillors are obviously encouraged to attend that, please. Anyone got any questions on that? 7 o'clock, next Monday night, the usual annual town meeting. Obviously residents are very welcome to attend, as I'm sure most of you will. Okay, so we'll move back to the normal numerical correction here, which is item 5, which is the AYB vision. The Arlesey Youth Council report. There was to be a report from Nicola, but unfortunately she cannot make it due to illness. So she has emailed a quick summary of what she wishes to be related to yourself. So I'll quickly read it out. A couple of items that she wanted to share with you was, first of all, the Project Mackenzie Employment Skills and Training Programme. The cohort 4 starts on the 13th of April, and we're recruiting for young people, both male and female, who are interested in construction work. For details, contact me at Aragon. We've been out and about doing detached work in Arlesey to gain ideas and suggestions for the summer programme. We would like permission to bring the rave bus down to the park again. I'm sure there won't be a problem with that. And the third item is there will be an Aragon Roadshow held at Gothic House in Gothic Mead, Saturday the 14th of March from 10 until 2 o'clock. It is for all community members to pop in, have a cup of tea and discuss anything about housing, gain advice, information and involvement opportunities. 14th of March, 10 till 2 at Gothic House. Right, item 6 is public participation. I do believe we've got a couple of speakers tonight, so who wishes to start? Roger Watson? Right.
Right.
All in the timing.
I'd like to remind councillors that there have been a number of significant unbudgeted items of expenditure over the last year in particular, which have been paid for out of our reserve funds. I'm hoping somebody's monitoring the level of reserves to make sure they do not approach the minimum requirement of 50% of annual budget. Under the circumstances, I would expect this council to be looking very carefully at any decisions they now take which have financial consequences. That means making sure that for any proposal, all initial and ongoing costs are fully identified, that the expenditure represents an appropriate use of ratepayer money, and that the implications and expected benefits of the proposal are fully considered. With that in mind, I'd like to offer my personal view as resident and ratepayer of Arlesey on the following items up for discussion tonight. Item 12F1, financial assistance to Fairfield Bowls Club. Worthy as they are just one of many clubs in the surrounding area that Arlesey residents benefit from. Now is not the time to be making donations to external organisations. Item 13, replacement of CCTV recorder. I'm pleased to see that alternatives are being considered, and I also appreciate that a quick decision may be required where there are safety, security or insurance implications. Item 16, provision of salt bins. Potentially a good idea, but only if there has been input from local residents indicating a willingness to make use of the bins once installed. It was also not clear whether Arlesey Town Council or Central Beds would be paying for topping up the salt each year. Hopefully Councillor West's report will address some of those issues. Item 17, reconsidering introduction of 7.5 tonne weight restriction. Mr Harper has already provided more detailed information to the Council, so just to add my opinion that if this were to go ahead it would be a lot of money for minimal benefit. Item 19, dog training in the village hall. If you do decide to take this forward, then can I recommend at least that you consult first with our caretaker and the children's group who use the hall, so that you could all agree whether this is appropriate use. You could also, for example, request a demonstration of the proposed clean-up method as a precondition. Item 20, free use of hose pipes at allotments. Something that potentially could be very expensive. I don't see any way that costs could be allocated back to the allotment users in a way that was acceptable to them all, and it certainly shouldn't be a burden to be placed on the general community. Finally, one item still being considered by the Property Committee, installing burglar alarm at the cemetery store. Do please seek advice from the local police, because I'm sure they'd be very willing to provide advice on alternative security measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I'd like to say that I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of what you've had to say. We will be discussing those items tonight, and I will obviously have my input into the way that I feel about it. I think you'd be quite interested to know that as of month 10, which is ending January, we have overspent our budget by 13,000. Obviously that money does have to come out of reserves. There's reasons for it. We've had a large expenditure of the village hall here with the roof. That's what made it. We've also had a lot of professional fees because of unexpected situations that arose over the course of the year. And obviously we've had a lot of money to spend on the cemetery. So as you can imagine, we've saved in some areas, but we've still overspent. And that has to be a cause of concern, because obviously we've got to look at the reserves to make sure that we comply with what you're saying. So obviously those issues will be discussed as we go through the evening. Hugh Harper, do you wish to
Well, I just
say a few
say
words?
point on item 17, which is the local area transport plan, we will match funding, which is probably said about the money. At the last meeting I attended, I did send a report which was given out by Central Beds. I hope the members all read it and all have got a copy and read the copy. And because we feel that the money would not be well spent, the police have already said that there will be a high priority on them to stop vehicles coming in, and it was very difficult to do so, because if a vehicle is coming in and deliver somewhere, then they can't stop it. So I think that we'll be throwing, or the council and residents will be throwing the money away. Okay. I would say, but I've already said that the last meeting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Roger's already referred to that anyway, so we're discussing that under item 17. Yeah. That's it, no more? Okay. So, item 7 is the minutes of the previous meetings. 7A is to receive and approve the minutes of the Town Council meeting on the 3rd of February, to approve them as a correct record of proceedings.
I'd like to recommend your approval, Mr Chair.
Okay. Anybody agree with that? The seconder for that? Yeah. Okay. And 7B is to receive and approve the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 17th of February and to approve them as a correct record of proceedings.
Recommend approval, Mr Chair.
Second.
Thank you. Any matters arising?
Yes, Mr Chair.
Councillor West.
1102.
Yeah.
Okay, I've received an email since our good assistant clerk has written to them, okay, highlighting a part of a web page whereby he just literally photocopied the things beginning AR and not the whole beginning A all the way through. So he is on there, but he's under AC because everything that we run is in alphabetical order and not in what you call local group order. Okay, we've offered him a half a page goodwill gesture. It doesn't, according to the email I received, it isn't good enough. Okay, so if we can't please him, okay, then maybe we should not put him advertising in our thing, because it is a commercial thing, and we have been told off about commercial stuff even anyway, because we're not saying we're recommending, we're just saying these people are there and available. So it's just taking a small snap of AR and not from the beginning, because his letter begins AC.
I must admit, I thought it wasn't on there because he's a business.
No, if you look at
and the others that he lists are charities, aren't they?
Yeah, but if you look at
youth organisations.
If you're looking at on our website, it actually the whole list starts off as AA, right, but he's AC and he's actually the first one on that web page.
I couldn't see him when I looked.
No.
Yeah, I looked at because I did the review. That's why I looked at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the letter or the email that he sent, which I think, did he go to all councillors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite long, wasn't it? I mean, he's questioning the process that we followed.
And we don't belong to an ombudsman anyway.
And he's also asking for the contact number of the correct ombudsman.
We don't have an ombudsman.
Leslie's going to switch to central beds to point him in the right direction, really. But I mean, in order to discuss that item fully, we'd have to have it as another agenda item. If we go back into discussing that, because there's quite a lot of detail to what he has to say.
GP?
Yeah. We can't do it now, but thanks for raising it anyway.
Can we refer back to GP then?
Okay. Any other items? Okay, so the Bedfordshire Police, agenda item 9. So we've got a young man here, I've forgotten your name, sorry.
Joe.
Joe? Yeah. To give the crime report for Arlesey.
Yeah. Okay. This goes back to the date of the last meeting, which was the 2nd, so we're starting on the 3rd February. 16 crimes altogether. Start with violence against the person. There was 2. One was a domestic and one was 2 schoolboys fighting, which is an offence of an assault. The burglary dwelling, there's 1 on here. Obviously that's quite welcome, given we're going for a bit of a spite before. It's an attempted burglary. Unknown offenders tried to gain entry into a flat in the rally but were unable to. However, we've had 4 offences. Between the 9th and 10th of February, an outbuilding was broken into in Hitchin Road and copper and brass was taken. The 28th of February, a shed was broken into, nothing taken. Between 17th and 18th of February, insecure shed in Ramrick Gardens was entered, nothing was taken again that time. And between the 10th and 11th, an insecure greenhouse was entered by unknown offenders who took items including a cat, which is a bit strange and not very nice, obviously. Vehicle crime, there's 4 on here. On the 20th of February, a vehicle was reported as stolen due to a dispute over payment for work. So it's quite a civil matter, but obviously there is an allegation of theft in there. On the 20th of February, a vehicle was stolen from Stotfold Road. There were no signs of the forced entry to the vehicle, and it's believed that the offenders had the key from a previous burglary at the location. It would have been January that it was burgled, I believe. So yeah, they've got the car key then, given it 2-3 weeks, come back and had the car. Between the 27th and 28th, a vehicle was stolen from the rally as well. And on the 1st of March, a vehicle was broken into in Hospital Road with power tools being taken. 2 theft offences between the 5th and 6th, an industrial item was stolen from a lorry yard in Hitchin. The item was very specific, sort of lorry bit of kit, so just I don't know what use it is to the offender, maybe scrap metal. On the 19th of February, someone left a bag on a bus which they were unable to reclaim after they rang around the bus company